All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special live. We have Jacob Chandley with us. And before he gets in, I got to give a big shout out to Midas Gold Group, the sponsor of this channel and of this live. Ladies and gentlemen, they're printing trillions and trillions of dollars every day. They're devaluing your hard-earned money. Save it with physical, tangible gold and silver. Contact Midas Gold Group today at MidasGoldGroup.com. Their phone number is down in the description. Let's get right into it. Jacob, my friend, thank you for coming on. How you been?
I've been all right. Thank you for asking. How about yourself?
You're just going through the whole my bigger one is demonetized for at least another month or so, and they're doing the shadow ban thing, but hey, we'll get through it. So you were running for Congress, right? And share what's going on with that. What's happening? How's everything going?
Well, I was running as a third-party candidate, so a libertarian. And the way that the law is tailored here in Arizona, they basically would have required me to get something like maybe 25 to 28%, 30% of the signatures from the Libertarian voter base. So allow me to explain. The way the law is tailored, a Republican only has to get half a percentage of all of the Republican registered voters in their district in order to get, they only have to get a half a percentage of that voter base and their signatures to get on the ballot.
Okay.
It's the same thing with Democrats. If you're a Democrat, you only have to get a half a percentage of all of the registered Democrats in your district to get on the ballot. Now, if you're a third-party candidate, whether it be Libertarian or Independent, then you don't just have to get your political party signatures. You have to draw from a pool of Libertarian, Independent, and no party affiliation. So, for example, if the rules were the same for everybody, then I only had 3,000 or so Libertarians registered in my district, which means that I would have only had to get 19 signatures to get on the ballot because it was a half a percent of all of the registered Libertarians. But because they'd have the law tailored the way that they do, instead of having to only get 19 signatures, I would have had to get something close to 800. Now, I don't have access to the independent voter registry or their information or the no party affiliation. I only have access to the Libertarian information. So if there's 3,000 Libertarians scattered all throughout my district, and I only can access their information, then I have to get 800 signatures out of 3,000 registered Libertarians. Do you see how they've basically tailored the law to where the percentage of signatures per registered voter is astronomically higher for a third-party candidate than it is for the two-party system?
So it's pretty, yeah, exactly what you just said. It's built so that we only have a two-party system. That's it. Democrat or Republican, you want to make a new, that's why it's called a uniparty. If someone wants to destroy that, it's pretty much impossible. And you mentioned that, Trump on the 25th of May this month is going to the Libertarian National Convention. He's going to be speaking there. First time in history anyone's done that. And I think that's extremely smart of him to do, right? I think that's because that's a big percentage of, the voters. And from my research, they are going to be presenting a few of their main issues to Trump and kind of making a deal with him. Hey, if you give us a promise, you're going to go on, and help us with this, we'll support you in getting you in. So, I mean, that's very smart. So what's your next move? Because I was really looking forward. Remember those people that are in Congress that were saying he should have been shot? Seeing you just like right next to them. Dude, oh man, that would have been great. So, but what happens now?
Well, I'm working on a book. I am doing live streams and stuff like that on X or Twitter.
I saw that last night, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going, I suppose, where I'm most needed. That isn't to say that I wouldn't be necessary in Congress. I mean, I think that my campaign platform most certainly is necessary in Congress, but I also began to think about it. There was a guy, I think he was out of South Carolina, this congressman. I think he was in a wheelchair. He was a part of the House of Representatives. And he blew the whistle about how he was invited to like cocaine fueled orgies with hookers in DC. And they got rid of him. They kicked him out of the Congress on ethics violations, I think. So it's clear to me that even if I were to get in office, I might not last very long, especially if and when I'm calling them out and not playing ball. And in that regard, I imagine I could probably do a lot more good outside of the political system / sphere than inside of it, and sort of having my hands tied by being a congressman. And that's what I intend to do, is to use this freedom of not being a political figure or a congressman to my advantage.
Yeah, no, that's good. So it's yeah, your voice is needed, and we need people with different ideas, different thoughts, different. It's and even 90% of even most Republicans, when I talk about like stuff about Republicans, they don't agree on, but that's fine. We need, I hate the uniparty. That's what communism is. Everyone goes the same way, but I want to shift to the election. Is it me, or does this election cycle feel very weird? More weird than 2020. It's strange. I mean, usually, okay, I'm only 32. I haven't been an adult for too many elections, but usually this time, whenever you turn something on, it's, who's running on what. We got debates here, we got debates there, we got convention this, convention that. Nothing. It's silence. I mean, we would have been bombarded with election news. Now it's barely anything. It's strange. It's weird. I don't see the lawn signs. Like in my neighborhood, I'm the only one with the Trump 2024 sign. Like it's weird. It's strange. It's like my opinion is one side thinks they've got it fixed. They're gonna figure out as we get to election how to mess with numbers. The other side is just like, Trump's gonna win. There's no way he's gonna lose. But I don't know. What's your opinion?
I really don't know. I think that Trump didn't even lose in 2020. I don't think that he's going to lose in 2024. There's no way Biden got 81 million votes. It just doesn't make any sense. But that doesn't mean that the Uniparty isn't going to try to fix it somehow. They're literally handing out voter registration forms to illegal immigrants as they enter the country.
Yeah.
So I think that is kind of their goal this time around. They know they can't do what they did in 2020 to rig it. So now I think they're going to try to play this game of, illegal aliens voting and then somehow counting those ballots as valid. What's interesting is that recently I've seen a lot of news stories, and not just from places like Epic Times or Gateway Pundit, but from other sources as well, about, say, things like in Fulton County or like Georgia, or things in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, here in Arizona, about the 2020 election.
Yeah.
And how it is that it was fixed, how it is that there was fraud, how it is that it was rigged, all of that stuff. And it all seems to be coming out. So I think that the people that believe that Trump is going to win the most are actually the Democrats. And that's why they're trying to throw him in jail. That's why they're trying to get him off the ballot. That's why they're trying to keep him in court and tied up in litigation while he should be campaigning. Interestingly enough, he really kind of has turned that on its head. And now every time they take him to court, They look really bad. He looks really good. And it's clear, Rod, it's clear that that they're getting desperate. So I think that they believe he's going to win more than anybody.
Yeah, I think he's gonna win, but with all the news that you were talking about coming out, I was just taking notes to make a video later. Congress, the Republicans with Trump are actually gonna be voting on a bill that's gonna pass to where if you want to vote and register to vote, in a federal election, you have to prove you're a citizen nationwide. So if that goes through, which good, I know there are the Amish, they don't vote, they're voting in this election. Pennsylvania, I think for the first time in American history, there are more registered Republicans by like 40 something thousand than Democrats. I know in Pennsylvania they're doing, I think whoever takes Pennsylvania takes the election, but I think there's going to be surprises this year. I think kind of like in 2016 when Pennsylvania flipped, first time in over like 30 years, I think there's going to be some flips that Democrats did not expect. We got New York, we got New Jersey, I'm in Washington State. Trump is leading here by like 2 points, right? But do you think you're going to run in the future?
I don't know. Maybe.
What about this? Run as a Republican just to get on the ballot and get in. And then once you're in, be like, screw you, I'm not here to play by your rules.
And then switch to Libertarian. Oh my gosh. That seems a little disingenuous. Part of the reason why I ran in the first place was to have a win-win scenario for everybody in the country. If I get in, that's a win. If I don't, and I'm able to see what's going on behind the scenes and able to understand the corruption a little bit better and expose that corruption by running, that's a win. So I try to choose scenarios that are win-win. And in this regard, I wouldn't run again unless it was a win-win.
Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate you, and I want to ask you this one last question, and I ask this to everyone. I know we just talked about the election, but kind of how do you see November 5th, 2024 playing out? Let's say, it's election day, it's midnight, what do you think is happening? Just a prediction, some ideas.
I don't know. That's why I guess it's kind of interesting. I think that's something that a lot of people feel uncomfortable saying. I don't know. I'm kind of curious, if anything, to see what happens. I will say that I believe that if the election is fair, then Trump is going to win by a landslide.
Yeah.
But our elections haven't been fair for a very, very long time. Our elections have been rigged for decades. And because of that, we have this two-party corrupt system. I think that Trump being even on the ballot or in the conversation is a wild card that the globalists just don't know how to deal with. That's why they are trying to set him up in any way and every way they can, whether it be setting him up for the whole January 6th crap with the infiltrators in the crowd and the intel not getting the chief's son and the National Guard not being deployed. The fact that the Pentagon and there was a National Guard whistleblower that came forward recently saying that the National Guard was ready to go to the Capitol, but the brass at the Pentagon did not allow them to go. Thus, basically like standing in the way of Trump's executive power because he ordered them to go.
Yep.
I think that's treason. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't understand the legalities of treason, but that certainly is a violation of a lawful order on behalf of the brass at the Pentagon. But then I've also seen how recently it came out that this whole classified documents case is really, really being exposed for what it was. They called Trump's people and said, hey, we got a pallet of documents for you here in, I think it was Virginia or something. We're going to ship them over to you. Are you ready to receive them? They said, yeah, sure. Send them on over. And then shortly thereafter is when they run the raid, and then they use the top secret cover sheets to put them on files that don't even have or correspond with the stuff that's on the cover sheet. And it's all a setup. It's quite clear that, and then the media, of course, was there as they're raiding Mar-a-Lago. So, and then all this stuff with Stormy Daniels, or all this stuff with Fannie Willis, it's all coming out that these people are actually the ones that belong behind bars.
Yeah.
That these people are corrupt and they are doing things that are illegal to try to get rid of Biden's political opponent. And I also saw something else recently where people were criticizing of all news institutions, the New York Times, because they were saying that their stories were in one way or another harmful to Biden, and they should not continue to run with some of these stories, which if the New York Times is running stories that people think are harmful to Biden, what does that say about the shift in the narrative or the shift in public perception? But that being said, the one, I think it was like an editor, like a chief editor in the New York Times said, well, if you want us to run stories that are in favor of a candidate, that's a propaganda arm. That's not impartial news. Yeah. So now even the New York Times is being forced to deal with the notion that they and their news institutions, or their journalists, are not trusted. Did you see that thing about that New York, I think it was the New York Times journalist, was arrested recently because she was one that was saying that like Trump supporters somehow were like a domestic threat or like domestic terrorists or something and should be locked up. And this woman was a Chinese national who had ties to the CCP, working at the New York Times. How many other people are there like that? So now that all this stuff is coming out, it really does make me wonder what 2024 is going to look like, what the election is going to look like. Like you said, we're not really being inundated with all of this election stuff. And I think that is by design, because there's no Republicans that are going to be running against Trump. He pretty much already won the nomination, even though there hasn't been an election as far as the primary goes, at least. Well, there has, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The debates were a joke for the Republicans. Biden will not debate any other Democrat because the Democrats are basically saying Biden is their candidate, which is hilarious. I hope they stay with that strategy. Yeah. I'm curious, if anything, final point, what the October surprise is going to be.
Yeah, that's what even a lot of people are talking about. Something within like a month of an election is when they pull something. But I thought about these scenarios. I think that they are in a place. Again, this is stuff that we can just think about and speculate. They see they can't get rid of him. They regret 2020 because they thought he's going to be gone with the wind. He's not. They're like, man, he would have been getting ready to leave forever. Like, we messed up. Now they want to cause so much chaos all over the world that when he's in there for 4 years, his hands are going to be tied with the border, with the legal immigration, with the economy, with wars.
In Ukraine.
Well, yeah, with all this, China, Israel, Ukraine, to where, going after them or fix America. And so keep them occupied with all these problems. 4 years go by. But again, that's just stuff, we can think about, we can speculate. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Keep us updated. Come on every few months. Keep us updated. By the way, I shared with you, I am moving to Phoenix in the fall. So, we'll do some in person. All right. Thank you, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe. Trump 2024.